Today on Cooking with Chef Mary, we're visiting Pond Hill Farm in Harbor Springs, Michigan, where families and schools are invited to come and interact with the livestock, fruits, and vegetables that are grown on the farm.
You know, we've kind of been visiting some local farms. Why are you supporting the idea of people coming in and picking their own produce?
You know, it's funny, when we first started doing this, I thought that we just grew food. And, you know, the farm experience has really become something that I think we've lost in this country.
I would agree.
You know, kids don't understand where food comes from. I think that the education part of it is huge. And we started a nonprofit last year called Farming for Our Future that's focusing on education and teaching people about eating and eating habits. A dream of mine would be that the kids would come out and help plant a crop like winter squash, and then they could come out, you know, we could stake it off for them and it would go back to the school and, you know, be served as part of the lunches. And, you know, that kind of closes the loop as far as kids thinking about, you know, we all put our hand to our mouth every day, but
oh, that's
you know, we don't
brilliant.
really think about what, you know, what goes into it and how that actually affects, you know, our health and the health of our planet. One of the things that I like is, you know, most of this food is traveled, I don't know, at most 1,000 feet or something,
if that,
between the fields and here, and then at the Garden Cafe, you know, then we can turn around and serve it. So. You know, it's been
it's just so healthy and vibrant, and for me, being a chef and cooking, I would go crazy to be able to serve this to my guests or my clients. This would be my dream.
Farmer Jimmy shows me where he keeps all of his animals. It's home to pigs, chickens, sheep, and of course trout.
I just can't get over how clean your barn is. I mean, obviously it's a barn, and but it doesn't smell like some barns can smell. It smells very clean, and obviously there are animals in here.
Well, I think one of the difference, you know, why a lot of barns smell so much is when you're feeding animals a lot of grain, it's not that good for them. But, you know, how do you put weight on something? Well, you feed it, you know, a lot of high-calorie, basically, food. Well, with cows, in nature, they would basically just eat grass and leaves. But when we put them on a feedlot and feed them corn and soybeans, they gain weight fast, but it's really hard on their stomachs.
And so,
but,
wow.
you know, who cares, right? I mean, we're not breeding them for longevity. We're trying to
breeding
them up
food,
to size and
essentially.
While Jimmy showed me around the farm, we discussed the benefits and risks of genetically modified crops.
I understand why people love to grow Roundup Ready corn, because instead of having to go out and, you know, most farmers typically used to spray with you know, a couple different kinds of herbicides to kill their broadleaf and kill their grass, and then they would actually come and cultivate it also. So you're talking 2 to 3 passes with a tractor over the crop, and probably have to spray, you know, twice like that. Where now with the Roundup Ready corn, you make 1 pass over the field, spray it with Roundup, it kills everything but the corn, and you're done. But, you know, now that corn is actually cross-pollinating with other corn, and it's starting to become Roundup resistant also. And then, you know, Roundup's used so heavily that some of the weeds are starting to develop resistance to it. And would it be worse if we didn't, you know, if we didn't have those tools and we couldn't produce enough food to feed everybody? You know, it's kind of this: is the glass half empty or half full? You know, shortcuts are great.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't get lost somewhere along the line and have to backtrack, or so. You know, it's. I think that it's important to be at least doing both, and so if we do end up down the wrong road, that, you know, you haven't put all your eggs in one basket, and
we didn't have to start over.
Yeah.
Wow.
Our next stop was talking to Farmer Tim about the differences between store-bought eggs and the ones straight off the farm.
A good chicken lays about 1 egg a day.
Okay.
So, and whether they're fertile or not, and people seem to think that you can't eat fertile eggs, that you're going to break it open and there's going to be a baby chicken inside. And that's not true. A broody chicken is a chicken that sits on her eggs and tries to hatch them out. You know, if she were to sit on them for a few days, then if you broke it open, it's going to be different than a regular egg. There's going to be an embryo inside. But otherwise, as long as you collect the eggs every day, they're just eggs, whether they're fertile or not. And some people actually prefer fertile eggs. I can't really tell the difference when I eat them. I can tell the difference between these eggs and the eggs that you buy in the store.
What's the difference?
They taste better. The yolks are a lot darker, yellower. They just taste more like an egg than the eggs at the store. Like the eggs at the store are kind of like a watered down version.
Wow.
Yeah. In an egg factory where they're just busting out as many eggs as they can. They probably feed the chickens the same thing all the time, you know, just the cheapest scratch they can buy and egg mash, and that's all they get. I'm in a unique situation here with the farm. These guys, they get all the egg scratch and egg mash that they want, just like the chickens in a factory, but they also get all the scraps from the restaurant, and you know, when we pick in the greenhouse, anything with bug holes in it. You know, these guys, you know, they love watermelon and stuff like that, and it really seems to increase the egg production and make for better quality eggs.
Our trip to Pond Hill Farm wouldn't be complete without firing off some old vegetables with their famous squash rocket.
And then, wow! And the bins.
The bins are target.
We're gonna have the squash rocket, put the apple in the squash, or the apple in the, whoop.
It's tough to pull back.
Oh, no kidding. Wow, this is not gonna go well.
Use that wood.
Okay, mine was not that successful. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and your farm is beautiful.
Well, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right, well, that's Cooking with Mary. See you next time.